Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of the Gore Report. Today, as you can see, I have another adventure bike. This one is a 2011 BMW F800GS. These are super popular adventure bikes, honestly. This is one that I had lusted after for quite some time. So I'm excited to have it on here for doing a little ride review for you guys. I'm just going to go around and talk about the bike for a minute. This one has quite a few upgrades, so I'm going to kind of list some of that stuff too. Then we're going to take it for a spin. But first of all, this one is a 2011 model. They've upgraded and changed some things since then, but this one is a 800cc parallel twin, about 85 horsepower. You can see it's got a nice spoked 21-inch front wheel, good for off-roading, upside-down forks, dual Brembo brakes. This one does have upgraded brakes. You can see the rotors are a little wavy looking, and rears are the same. It's got got some auxiliary lights and crash bars, center stand, bark busters, all that kind of stuff. Did come factory with heated grips, which is cool. This one has Öhlins rear shock, which is awesome. Seat concept seat. I love this thing. I gotta tell you guys, it's grippy. It's got this texture to it. It is super nice to ride with. And then that tank bag is just really handy for your little bits and, wallet, phone, keys, whatever you want to throw in there when you're going out. Cool thing about these bikes, I always thought was kind of interesting, not too many people talk about, is the fuel filler being on the side here, because the gas does go under the seat instead of up top like a lot of bikes. Kind of helps the center of gravity seem a little bit lower. Helps it handle really well. And these bikes, I have to say, you guys try to convince me otherwise. I think this is probably the best all-around motorcycle that you can get. They do come without some of the off-road bits from the factory, but I think that just lends themselves to personalization and doing these kind of custom touches, and you can outfit it to do off-road if you want. And a lot of people don't off-road these things. They just ride them around town. They're really nice as far as suspension goes for bumps and stuff like that. And they handle incredibly well on the freeway. This one's got highway pegs on it and the throttle lock too, so it can go for a long freeway stints, no problem. Does have a Yoshimura pipe on it, so it's a little louder than a stock one, but it's not too terrible. So what we're going to do, we'll mount up, and I will talk a little bit more about this guy as we do. Let's see. Kind of cool little gauge sweep and all that stuff. Fires right up. Sounds great, I think. I think some parallel twins kind of sound a little, how do I say it? Kind of like an appliance almost. Not the most inspiring thing ever, but this bike sounds cool to me. I really like it. It does have ABS that's you can switch off. A lot of people get a little bit worried when they see this ABS light flash, but it always does that when you start it up, just to kind of let you know that it's there and it's working. And I think almost to remind you that if you want to switch it off, you got to switch it off every time you start the bike. So anyway, we're gonna cruise through this sandy stuff real quick. And a golf ball. And then let's hit the actual tarmac here. As most of you guys do know, I ride a Royal Enfield Himalayan pretty regularly. This is another thing too, the turn signals on either side are kind of weird to me to get used to, but there's a little cancel button on the right side if they don't cancel by themselves, so you can just nail that guy and it'll turn off. But they do have self-canceling. It's kind of hit or miss whether that works or not, but it's not a huge deal to me. It's never been like a big point of contention. I'm so used to canceling myself, so it's not really a huge deal. But let's see if any of these people know how a stop sign works. You're supposed to go, dude. You stopped before I did, and I don't trust you by the looks of that car. Go, man. No? Man, that thing is so beat up. Not my favorite to go out in front of cars like that, because you know they're typically not paying attention, but whatever. Anyway, I don't think I could compliment this bike enough. For most of you guys are probably going to think that I'm just like, you know, falling hard for it, but they are just so comfortable, so well balanced. They are tall, so, you know, me, I'm 5'8". I'm tippy-toeing right now on both sides to touch the ground on this thing. So understand that if you're getting into the adventure bike segment, most bikes are going to be pretty tall. This is about the same seating position and height as KLR 650. And I did have one of those for quite some time, and this feels very similar. The only things that I would say is it's really the height that seems similar on this. I try to probably 1 foot it most of the time at stops if I can, and that works just fine. I will say too that the similarities pretty much end there between this and a KLR. We have, you know, similar, they're both middleweight adventures, I get it, but this has so much more grunt, so much more power compared to a KLR. The suspension is just miles ahead of what you get on a KLR 2. I know, like I said, this one's got upgraded Öhlins rear shock, but even the stock suspension is more than adequate for anything that most anybody does. And it is adjustable stock as well. The forks are beefy. They really soak up a lot. Hard braking, you get some fork dive, but as far as I'm concerned, this is an adventure bike, so it is meant to go off-road, which means to me it's going to be a little squishier. You know, it's not a sport bike. It's not going to be, you know, hard to ride around in the bumps. So that kind of stuff is kind of just expected as far as I'm concerned. But I will say too, for being an adventure bike that's, you know, pretty tall, and I think they're 460-ish pounds, something like that. This thing handles incredibly well on the road. It's very, very comfortable to ride. Perfectly upright seating position. You got these wide bars. It's a little windy today, but I don't really feel it too much. I mean, I have this taller windscreen too, but with the bark busters and stuff, I feel like I could ride this bike from fuel stop to fuel stop, no problems at all. It's just that comfortable, and there's a reason why so many guys pick these bikes up and ride them. It's because they are so capable out of the box. They're so comfortable. You can flick it around any way you want to flick it around. Even with the 21-inch front wheel, it really, you know, it'll duck in just as quick as you want it to. I mean, you can't compare it to a sport bike or anything like that, but compared to the other adventure bikes, these are, I think, well worth the money. And I know that they can be pricey to start with if you buy one brand new. But what I always suggest to people is don't even bother, man. Just do this. I mean, I picked this one up used. Already had all these extras on it, and you know, all these little upgrades and stuff, and you save so much money on that. I think that it's well worth it to pick up one that's got some miles on it, and somebody has already taken the liberty to do all the upgrades that you want to it, you know, because, you know, little things like these mirror relocation brackets, you know, that's something that you don't necessarily think about. It is such a nice thing to be able to see past yourself in these mirrors and not be looking at your shoulders the whole time and whatnot. The windscreen's great. Just these little things that when you put on your bike, don't expect to sell it and get your money back out of it most of the time. But they are a great value for somebody who's looking to get into this stuff and wants to pick up a bike like this. As much as I love my Himalayan, and that bike is so fun to ride, you know, this really is the all-arounder for anything you'd want. You know, I could take this thing up and do a couple-day ride on it if I wanted to and be so comfortable. It'll cruise on the freeway. You know, let's be real, guys, you know, who's cruising on the freeway going 65? Not a whole lot of people. You know, this thing will do 80, 85 all day. It's not taxed. It's not having problems. It's a 6-speed. I mean, you got plenty of power to do anything you want. And it doesn't feel strained ever. You know, it's a pretty quick bike for what it is. The power comes on, I think, really easily, to be honest. It's got good mid-range, which is what I love out of a bike that you're going to be cruising around on the street. You know, you really want something that's going to have that punch where you use it. You know, middle of the power band, leaving from a stop. Not everybody's screaming on the streets, you know, wrapping their bike out all the time. And I'm one of them. I don't do that, you know. So, but this thing will get it. Look, I mean, if you want to get on it, you get on it, you know. It has plenty of power to get on the freeway and get out of everybody's way. And I think that's the thing that most people miss about riding adventure bikes. The Himalayan especially is that it lacks that power. I think if it had half the power this did, it would sell probably twice as many bikes. But, you know, for some people that's fine, and for me, I think I appreciate it for what it is. I think the KLR has its following for the same reason, but this is, you know, for I guess not to sound too cliche, this is desert island motorcycle for me, and I think that a lot of people should consider it for that reason. It just has everything. You know, it's Swiss Army knife motorcycle, desert island motorcycle, you know, jack of all trades, whatever you want to call it. It just does everything exceptionally well. To caveat all of this too, yes, I get that it's a BMW, it's not in everybody's price range. Maintenance is a little more than you'd want if you have to do major servicing. These bikes don't have a lot of problems though. So you're gonna be doing just fine if all you're doing is basic, oil changes, brakes, chains, stuff like that. You're gonna be fine. It's really not much more than any other bike you're gonna want to get into, and you get so much more enjoyment out of it. Yeah, this is one of those bikes that you ride around all day, and you don't feel like, oh man, the suspension just isn't quite up to snuff. I need to upgrade the springs, or I got it stock and it just doesn't have a lot of power. I got to do a couple things to it, get that extra bit out of it. I would be totally happy picking up one of these stock and riding it around just every day. If it's something you want to commute on, do bombing around on the dirt on, do freeway riding on, it'll do absolutely anything. And I know people love the R1200s, R1250s, but they are pigs, guys. I don't know how many people will tell me, oh, those bikes are so great and they're awesome off-road, but they are so freaking big. They are so heavy. They are not a joy to ride to me. And then God help you if you drop it. Trying to pick one of those things up. Not to mention, they're extremely expensive compared to one of these. So, that's my take on that. It's my little ride review. I'm going to keep riding this guy for a little while. I have some more free time, so I'm going to cruise it around and see what I can find. And I will sign off here and remind you guys, do not ever forget, no matter what, if you're riding a Beamer or you're riding a Vespa, get out and ride.